Boat with strong Seattle ties has gone down off the coast of Alaska, and an intense search is underway for 5 missing crew members.
Imagine the worst day of your life, Captain Sig Hansen said, as a monstrous wave smashed into the Patricia Lee.
Well, back in 2017, a crab boat called the FV Destination sank in the Bering Sea, killing all 6 crew members on board.
The deck was underwater in an instant, and deckhand Francis was caught between 2 massive anchor pots. The greatest concern was his iliac artery. If it was injured, his life could be at risk. With the storm raging, reaching safety for a Coast Guard rescue seemed nearly impossible. What happens when the sea shows no mercy? Let us reveal how they fought through the tragic storm. A race to save a life at sea. 228 miles southwest of Dutch Harbor, the Patricia Lee faced a massive wave that surged over the side. In a split second, it flooded the deck, completely submerging the area where deckhand Francis was working. Unfortunately, the force of the water trapped him between 2 heavy anchor pots. But as the crew scrambled to locate him, a darker truth emerged. Francis was not the only one missing in the storm-tossed sea. The sea was getting rougher, and the storm was growing stronger by the minute. Each moment that passed made it harder to reach safety, pushing both the crew and our ship to the limit. We were in a race against time, battling through a 300-mile-wide Arctic storm.
Did you see that? The guy saluted and flew by the crane like by 2 inches. That is incredible.
My goal was to reach Dutch Harbor, which was within 100 miles of a Coast Guard helicopter's range. This was our only chance to get Francis the urgent medical help he needed. But things weren't getting any easier. Just as hope arrived in the form of a helicopter on its way, the weather at Dutch Harbor, 225 miles northeast, was getting worse. The situation was becoming even more dangerous, and we all felt the pressure of the ticking clock. At the Dutch Harbor airfield, the flight is expected to be challenging because of strong winds and rough seas, which make it very risky for the pilots. They do have the option to turn back if the conditions become too dangerous. The aircraft is fueled with 2,600 pounds, enough for a 5-hour flight. 2 hours each way to and from the fishing vessel Patricia Lee, with an extra hour in case the rescue becomes difficult, especially in the severe storm. As the fishermen's pain worsens, the rescue team spots their helicopter arriving. This is a critical moment, marking the beginning of the rescue and bringing hope that the injured man will soon get the care he needs. But the real challenge is just beginning. As the MH-60 Jayhawk helicopter struggled against strong 39-knot headwinds, the Coast Guard team knew they had a tough job ahead. They only had 20 minutes to complete a critical mission on a ship's dangerously moving deck below. Their goal was clear but challenging. Lower a rescue swimmer through the rough air onto the deck, secure a man named Francis, and then lift them both safely back into the helicopter. Inside the helicopter, the rescue swimmer got ready while the tension in the air was palpable. The crew focused intensely on their tasks, fully aware that their coordination and speed were critical. The pilot skillfully maneuvered the helicopter despite the wind, trying to keep it as steady as possible over the rolling deck below. After securing Francis, they had to be lifted back up through the windswept air, a task requiring precise timing from the winch operator to avoid any mistakes. The helicopter's fuel gauge was a constant reminder of how little time they had left, adding more pressure to an already intense situation. Once both were safely on board, the pilot had to navigate back through the headwinds, a difficult journey with the added weight and low fuel. The team worked together flawlessly, knowing that any error could put the entire operation in danger. This rescue was a true demonstration of the Coast Guard team's skill and courage, who regularly faced such dangerous conditions to save lives. Their commitment was clear as they battled the forces of nature, showing just how tough search and rescue missions at sea can be. After the day's challenges, more uncertainties wait, bravery beneath the cliffs. It was an incredible sight to see the man finally reach the ground safely. He landed without any issues, steadying himself as he touched down. The whole scene felt like something out of a movie, filled with tension and high stakes. The atmosphere was intense, with soft music playing in the background, adding to the seriousness of the moment. The situation was nerve-wracking as everyone watched him navigate the dangerous terrain. The crowd around broke into applause, impressed by his courage and skill. Francis had made it up safely, but the rescue swimmer was still down there, ensuring everything was secure. The daring moves and close calls were astonishing, leaving everyone in awe of the precision and bravery displayed. As the rescue operation neared its end, the mood shifted to one of relief and gratitude. The music continued to play, giving a solemn yet hopeful tone to the end of a long and challenging day. The team's hard work and dedication were clear, and there was a deep sense of thankfulness for their efforts. With the operation completed, the applause marked the successful end of the mission. After 10 long hours, the weight of the day's events began to lift. Patricia Lee's crew member, Francis Katongan, was now on his way to a hospital in Anchorage, 800 miles away. The distance felt vast, but knowing he was getting the care he needed brought some comfort. The last piece of equipment was brought up, signaling the end of their task. There was a strong sense of completion as the day ended, leaving behind a powerful reminder of bravery, teamwork, and the resilience of the human spirit. Someone asked how he was feeling, clearly concerned about his health.
Joe is on the verge of passing out. He has pale face, he's very cold, he's slow to answer questions, and he's having trouble standing. So I knew it was time to load and go.
Soon after, another person joined in, wanting to know if he was getting better, their voice full of hope but also a bit of worry. The first person quickly assured them that he would be fine, which seemed to ease some of the tension in the conversation. As time went on, those talking couldn't help but express how thankful they were. One person in particular couldn't hold back and said how much they appreciated hearing the good news. They were clearly relieved to know that things were improving and made sure to thank the person on the other end of the line. The conversation kept circling back to gratitude. It was clear just how much the positive update meant to everyone. Then the mood shifted slightly when one of them spoke to a larger group, sharing that they had spoken directly with the doctor. The news that he was going to recover lifted everyone's spirits, but the real reassurance came when they emphasized again that he was going to be okay. This repeated assurance helped calm everyone's nerves. As they wrapped up the update, they couldn't help but express how lucky they felt that things had turned out well. The relief was almost tangible, as the worry that had been hanging over them started to fade, replaced by a sense of optimism and deep gratitude for his recovery. But it wasn't just relief they felt. There was also a strong sense of how close they had come to a much worse outcome. Late in the evening, soft whispers could be heard near marker 18, but the words were too quiet to make out. It felt like a distant conversation, perhaps about someone's whereabouts. The air was filled with a sense of mystery, with unspoken words hanging just out of reach. This event made people think of Jeff, who had recently planned a trip to this very place. There wasn't much information about his journey, but it was known that he and some friends were well prepared with all the necessary gear. Their adventure was last tracked heading toward the northwest corner of St. George, a region famous for its tough landscape. The evening shadows made the area even more intimidating. The cold night brings new, tougher tasks. St. George's darkest corners. The unanswered questions remained as the whispers slowly disappeared, mingling with the cold night air. The thought that something important might have happened, or was about to happen, in that isolated part of St. George, stayed in the minds of those who heard the brief conversation. The lack of clear details only deepened the sense of suspense in this quiet area, where every sound seemed louder and every silence felt full of possibilities. But this wasn't the most troubling part. The uncertainty of what might be unfolding in that remote place was even more unsettling. He got a clear signal just as the boat was confirmed to have sunk. They found a life ring, a fuel tank cap, and some pieces of wreckage. There were no emergency flares, no survival gear, nothing that would indicate anyone had survived. The boat's last location was now just a set of coordinates on a map. It became clear that no distress call had been made, which made the situation even more serious. As they came to terms with this, people shared information and thanked each other for the support during such a difficult time. As the days went by, there were apologies for the long silence. They needed more time to process what had happened and to figure out how to respond, hoping to make sense of the tragic event. But this wasn't the hardest part. What came next would challenge their ability to cope even more. They arrived at the scene where the Patricia Lee was dealing with an emergency. Todd was on board, and the situation was urgent.
But first, cold, hard realities are setting in just one day after the sinking of the Scandies Rose. The Coast Guard called off the search for the missing fishermen last night. Remarkably, though, 2 of those fishermen survived.
"Oh no, is he teaching now?" "Oh no," they exclaimed. The Patricia Lee had sent out a distress call, and Todd was involved. His presence was crucial, evident from the busy emergency channel. The group was on a mission to reach the Venturi Sealy when the news of a severe injury reached them. Among those on board was Todd, a recent replacement for a highly skilled member, adding to the already tense atmosphere. Everyone was aware of the stakes. Todd had a reputation for excellence, which now seemed at risk given the circumstances surrounding the accident. As the group processed the situation, concerns grew about Todd's involvement. The thought that he might be linked to the incident caused a stir among them. Meanwhile, preparations were underway for a potential rescue operation. The helicopters were set to navigate challenging conditions, tasked with reaching Colby, Alaska, some 600 miles away, to provide assistance. The urgency of the situation was palpable, and the need for precise execution was paramount. Plans were quickly made. "This is an emergency, and we're trained for it," they reassured each other as the Coast Guard was sent to the fishing vessel, Patricia. The main concern was the condition of the deckhand, who had suffered serious injuries. With little information available, they prepared for whatever awaited them. They talked with the flight attendant about the severity of the weather and the chances of survival. "It looks bad," one muttered, thinking about the dangers of a job where a 788-pound steel pot could easily crush a limb or worse. Those pots are more dangerous than the waves, full of unexpected risks, especially when trying to secure equipment and avoid the crushing ice. But the worst part was not knowing who was injured. Was it Paul or someone else? What a terrible situation, they wondered, hoping for more information. They decided to send a message to gather more details, fully aware of how important it was to stay connected during such critical moments. Recent losses weigh on the crew as they face fresh trials. The calls of Colby's Coast Guard. In the small coastal town of Colby, the Coast Guard team is preparing for a critical mission aboard the Patricia Lee. The atmosphere is heavy with tension, and the radio hums with updates as they get ready to launch. A question comes up about a patient on board. How serious is the pain? The answer is troubling. A crew member is in critical condition, fighting for his life after sustaining severe injuries. At the same time, 3 colleagues stationed on the coast are also facing serious dangers, with their safety uncertain. The radio continues. 60-4-1, you're cleared on runway 33, gear up and head to Charlie's for departure. The urgency in the voice is clear as it commands, "Hang in there, 4-1. Proceed and stay strong." Again and again, the message repeats, "Hang in there, 4-1. The team gets the plane ready, their thoughts focused on reaching the Patricia 5 as quickly and safely as possible. But then, a somber update comes through. The identity of someone involved in a recent distress call remains unknown. Sadly, he didn't survive. His life was tragically cut short by the unforgiving sea. "Oh my God," someone whispers, the gravity of the situation sinking in. They try to figure out who he was, but the only clue is heartbreakingly brief. He was one of the Red Tots, one of their own. Out in the remote, unforgiving waters, the stark reality of loss permeates the air. Its harsh presence felt deeply among those who braved the sea. Each casualty not only disrupts the waters, but also leaves an indelible mark on the hearts of the survivors. The fishermen, bound by shared experiences and communal ties, view each other not just as colleagues but as family. This deep sense of connection makes the thought of losing anyone among them unbearable.
Making bait setups. Somebody didn't want to do bait on the run.
Amidst this backdrop, conversations often drift to Bill, a fellow fisherman. His presence, or the lack thereof, evokes a poignant question that echoes across the waves. "Bill, what's the point?" These words, filled with a mix of despair and reflection, resonate with each member of the community, binding them even closer as they navigate both the physical and emotional challenges of their chosen life at sea. But this wasn't the worst part. Every mission, every loss, only strengthens the bond within this small group of Coast Guards and fishermen. They depend on each other, fully aware that the vast, unpredictable ocean could take any of them next. With each mission, their resolve deepens and an unspoken understanding grows among them. They are all in this together, for better or worse. Tonight marked a significant shift in their lives. He was no longer among them. He had passed away right in this very spot. He was the youngest of the family, the final link in their chain, and now that connection was severed. In the photograph, one could see him standing beside Nick, the cold air adding a tangible chill to the somber scene. The weight of many gazes seemed to press upon him, heavy with unspoken thoughts. He had made attempts to communicate, reaching out, hoping for a response that never came. In the end, he realized that it had been him all along. The comprehension of this truth was elusive, leaving him speechless, as if their collective fortune were quietly slipping through their fingers like grains of sand. As fireworks light up the sky, the community gears up to face ongoing challenges together. The last glimpse. The last time he was seen, he appeared healthy. It was hard to grasp the severity of the situation unfolding, a shocking event that had struck close to home, leaving everyone powerless to stop it. Deep down, there was a sense of inevitability, as if they had always known something dire was looming. In the end, it was just a tight-knit group of friends bracing themselves for whatever lay ahead. It was almost unbelievable how close they were to the conclusion of this ordeal. He was thankful that the end was in sight. The time had come to witness some fireworks, a brief respite from the challenges they faced. He marveled at the display, feeling a mix of awe and relief as the bright colors exploded in the sky. After the show, it was time to return home, a journey back to familiar surroundings, but under a different, more somber light. Now more than ever, there was a profound need for mutual support among them. The year had been incredibly tough, with many businesses succumbing to the pressures and closing their doors. The resilience of the community was tested, but the bonds among the friends remained a source of strength and hope. In a haunting echo of unresolved plans, he remained unresponsive, his silence a chilling reminder of their unmet appointment. The mere thought of his lack of communication sent shivers through her, an eerie prelude to the disaster that unfolded shortly after. As she wandered the corridors, each step revived a flood of memories.
You have bait to do? You have bait to do? Well, why are you standing there? Do bait.
It wasn't merely about him. It encompassed everyone involved, all grappling with the rapid shifts in their lives. They all bore the weight of maintaining resilience, despite feeling exposed and fragile. Each person in the group felt the tension, an unspoken struggle to remain composed amid the prevailing vulnerability. Tonight, as we gather to remember him, we also prepare ourselves for the harsh reality we face. We've been through so much together, facing challenges that seemed impossible to overcome. Now we face perhaps the biggest challenge yet, moving forward without him. As we watch the fireworks light up the sky, it's a way to mark the end of one chapter and the start of another. It's a moment of unity, of shared grief, and of supporting each other in a world that keeps showing us how quickly things can change. This season unfolded as an unexpected triumph in the crab industry. The entire community rallied with remarkable spirit and dedication. The abundance of crabs contributed significantly to the industry's success, creating a harmonious atmosphere among the crew members and captains. Everyone worked tirelessly, aligning their efforts to secure a prosperous season. Their hard work did not go unnoticed, capturing the attention of the media and setting a new standard for dedication in the industry. It was a collective effort that showcased unparalleled commitment, and it would be remiss to suggest otherwise. Despite the season's success, there remains uncertainty about returning next year. This sentiment is echoed each year, yet there is always a return. The season concluded on a positive note, providing a sense of accomplishment and relief. There is an eagerness to return home, to rest, and to distance oneself from the season's stresses. If a return happens next year, it will be with a renewed sense of pride and the knowledge that they have already proven their capabilities. With such a foundation, the future holds promise for even greater achievements. Should the sustainability of the industry be reevaluated given its current success? Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more.